Hey everybody, Drew Larison here, co-host of the Small Success Podcast and founder and creative director of Larison Media. Little note before this episode begins, some technical error happened. This episode is with Baxter Howell from Brad Howell Ford here in Kokomo, Indiana. Great conversation was happening, but all of a sudden, for some reason, as I was going through editing the podcast, about 30 minutes went missing. And I'm not sure how. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that when the conversation begins, where you're going to be hearing it, we've already been chatting, but for some reason we had a technical issue. So I apologize for the technical issue. We're in the process of trying to figure out how that happened. But I will say the conversation that is not missing that you were about to listen to is great conversation from a really great business owner and leader in business in our community here in Kokomo. So enjoy the episode. Once again, apologize for the error. Not sure how it happened, but we are working on figuring out how that happened. But I promise you will enjoy the conversation. Thank you.
So the reason our podcast exists is to connect and inspire other small business owners in our community, but really anyone who's listening to this podcast. I know we have one in Italy, which is really, really cool. But what advice would you have for other small businesses that could lead them on a path to success, or just some best practices or tips and tricks?
What we've always found, know what you're good at, and really, I've found if you try to be the best at so many different things, that you slack in the areas that you really succeed in. So know what you're good at as a business and as a team, and really excel at that. And put all your time into really the way you treat people, however that case might be. But I think some people spread themselves so thin in small businesses, don't have enough time, or they don't have enough people to be that good at all of them. But it comes down that they're not good at any of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We talk about like the idea of self-awareness.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I was about running late, but I got here on time, but we were having a manager's meeting with all of our departments at lunch, and, we had 10 things to discuss and where we can improve. But try to, every time before we start those meetings, we're having a great year. We are doing so many things right. Like, you don't want to just hammer on your team these 10 things. We're doing 100 right, but these are the next 10 that we got to focus on. So,
always little things that keep getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things we've touched base, and I told him today, I said, every once in a while we'll have these meetings, and then a month later we're talking about the same 10 things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's tackle that. Let's set a deadline, and let's knock those out, and then, because there'll be 10 more next time.
Sure. Yeah.
But you don't want to be so complacent that you're not improving on where you want to actually improve. So that's something that we have tried as a team to set those goals and actually hit them. So that's one thing that I think going forward we got to keep doing, because you can get complacent, like you said, and then in 3 months you get the managers back together. So what do we need to do? Oh, the 10 we discussed 2 months ago.
Still
Sure.
things,
Still there. So
Yeah. That's great. We had a podcast recently where we talked about like finding your niche and really leaning in to the places where your business has goals and has the talent. You can't be all things to all people, although it's great to try.
Yeah.
The reality is you find those few things that you are really good at and lean into those. So
and and find your employees' strength, and you know what I mean. Put them where they can be the most successful. We had it recently. I had an employee that I thought had all the potential in the world that just didn't work out. And what could I have done differently to push that person to succeed? Because, I think they had all the tools to be extremely successful, but where was that? Where were we lacking there?
Sure.
And I'm going to talk to Drew after this about hiring. I'm looking to hire a few people in different areas going forward here, but we bring someone onto our team, we're very, very particular. So sometimes I might drag my feet a little too much, because I know I'm dreaming the right guy is going to walk in the door and shake my hand. That no longer is really the case. So
I love the expression. It's not only about finding people to go on the bus, but it's about finding people to put in the right seats on the bus as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's so true.
It is
so true. You could have like the best you think it's the best hire in the world, but they just are horrible in the position you've hired them from.
Yeah.
But like taking the moment to recognize that and see what they're actually great at.
Yeah.
And if there's a seat for that as well, put them there. Because I mean, it's the right seat on the right bus is really the most important part.
And the person recently, they don't want to work for us, and when that happened, I sit down and told them, like, I have all the confidence in the world that you can be. You have all the tools. Just it didn't work out, but I'm going forward. Hopefully, you can apply those somewhere because you've got the chance to do something you want to do great.
Yeah,
just
I like what you said too, because I have that attitude about. I don't know. We've talked about it before. I look at anything that isn't as good as it could be in Larison Media. Yeah. I immediately take blame for it, and I heard that from you as well. It's not the employee's fault. It's all on me.
Yeah.
And like I like what you said. Like I immediately thought, like, what could I have done better as the manager? Because it's such an easy decision to be like, they could have done so much more.
Yeah,
they could have worked harder. They could have known. But you immediately took it as, what could I have done better as their leader and as their manager to help them get to where they go?
You hired them, no one else.
Yeah.
So, ultimately it does go back to you and it goes back to me. But at the same time, did I give them the right tools in those first 3 months to make it?
Yeah. Sure.
So, and I think sometimes we had this discussion at lunch. The people are not as financially driven as they once probably were. Mm-hmm. And you might not think of that way.
You work in the sales world.
I know.
So it's really
I
interesting.
know, but
that is interesting.
You might not think of it that directionally way, but if they're comfortable, or we want finding someone that's hungry is something that I want in a salesperson.
Yeah.
And the people I've got have been with us for a while. They're comfortable.
Well, especially the world we're in too, where overall unemployment in our country is so low,
right?
That the people left that are looking,
the good people have jobs most likely, and we've got another person in a different department of our business that could make more money, but
don't care.
They don't care.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And that's so interesting in the sales world, because that was, how sales are set up.
Right.
It's to incentive to make money.
Yeah.
It's not incentive to find more purpose. It's not incentive to fit in better.
Really
in sales jobs, they are 100%. The only really incentive you have is to earn more and to achieve more.
One of these is not even in the sales department, and, but they're making the money they want to make. They're paying their bills.
Comfortable.
They're living the way they want to live.
What do you think about the idea of comfort?
I'm never,
Do you enjoy it? Not being comfortable?
Yes, I think I do. I think that's the only thing that really gets me up and going in the mornings. What's next?
Yeah.
So.
Do you know about the Enneagram?
Have you ever heard of the Enneagram? You've heard of Myers-Briggs and personality tests, DISC assessments.
Yes.
Enneagram's a similar one like that. I'll show you afterwards.
We won't turn this into an Enneagram podcast. No. I'm just thinking some of the things you're saying, Baxter, make me think.
You've probably heard Bailey talk about it a few times as well. Yeah.
Maybe.
She kind of got obsessed with it.
Anyway, it's a really, really interesting point. If our ultimate goal, as a culture, is shifting from I want financial success and whatever goes along with that. There's vacation, lifestyle, pay your bills, have a nice place to live.
Yeah.
But if that's maybe not the ultimate goal, maybe it's comfort. Yeah. That means something different to everybody. But is that a motivation?
Enneagram, when you're hiring salesmen or sales staff in general, oh my, that's such an important thing.
And
you want to,
you want a three.
Do you want achievers? You want people who see a goal and want to crush it.
Right.
Honestly,
and
in my head, next. A 3-2 wing is such a great Enneagram for a salesperson, because you want to achieve, but you also have that wing of, I want to serve people
legitimately
and help people.
We started talking about another point at lunch. It was kind of interesting to me, looking back, and people at our facility, and this shouldn't be this way, and we'll probably change it, but you have to do a lot to get fired.
Sure.
You got to really want to be fired.
Yeah, we were talking about someone that we let go 6 months ago, and what it actually took to take that step was a little scary. So how comfortable are your employees? Do you need to have a little bit of that? I need to do my job, or I might not have a job.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we probably.
That's a fine line too, because you don't want people just terrified all day.
No.
You know what I mean? It's that fine line.
There's got to be some sort of.
It's honestly, it's an expectation conversation again.
Yeah,
when that employee starts having that expectation conversation, hey, we really believe in you. We want you to feel really comfortable here and love your job. But at the same time, this is a serious thing to us, where if it's not, we do make changes. Probably not that exact same speech, but like, like in a way setting expectations.
But these 2 points come up at lunch an hour ago, but until we just started kind of like talking about it and going back and forth, it didn't really hit me as hard as it does now.
Well, you're welcome. Small Success Podcast.
Yeah,
we're here to serve.
We're recording another podcast this week based off a blog we just published, but it's about commitment, about thinking about a team, commitment and compliance. And you need to have both, but it's the committed. And when you have a team, like I personally have purchased from your dealership, so I've experienced your team. Like you guys really have a family environment on your team. You can tell that you are committed to the work, but to the people, which is incredible. But you're right. I can imagine in those conversations about, what does it take?
It gets really comfortable.
It gets comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that podcast because in my head,
it's a good
I always
conversation.
compare like your experience at Burger King to your experience at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Like one is complete compliance. They are machines, right? Just doing it over and over again. Don't really care about being committed. They're just there, complying. Chick-fil-A, like those people are committed. Like the things they make those employees do is they have to be so committed to stick to it and have a great experience. So really like the beauty of commitment versus compliance is when your compliance is to be committed.
Yeah.
Right.
I was in Iowa, and the Chick-fil-A and Burger King were next to each, or maybe McDonald's, next to door to each other. And I counted like 35 cars in the Chick-fil-A park or drive-through, whatever many it was, and like 12, say, in McDonald's. And those 35 went through faster than the 12. You know what I mean? It's just it's incredible.
Well, and
with a smile, amazing customer experience.
And my pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Well, and they're a great example too.
And the food was right.
Chick-fil-A costs more.
It doesn't. But it should.
And it should. And as a consumer, you know that, but it's worth it to you.
And that's the same with my business.
Yeah.
I hope that we have some value in the way we treat people in the service, because if we don't, then why are we doing it? You know? So, and I'm not saying.
We all just want to be the Chick-fil-A's of our industry.
Come on.
Basically.
Yeah, we do.
Yep. And I want to be perfect, but we're not. Nobody is.
Right.
So, but I do feel like we follow up with people when we do make a mistake and correct it and do it the right way. And we lose money doing it. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and that's what cost for customer service is crazy high, but that buys you your return customers.
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard you say before, like my goal isn't just honestly kind of similar to the restaurant industry, but like our goal isn't just someone buys one car from us and that's it. Like I want them to buy a car, I want their kids' cars to be from us, and I want their kids when they grow up to be adults, their cars to become like
same deal.
It's long game, and when you have that long game attitude, making decisions, whether it's more expensive to make people happy along the run, they're easy to make because you have that mindset of long term.
And benefit for us, some other dealerships don't look at it that way. Yeah. So if we can excel in that area, I think that it gives us an upper hand. And it's still in our rural area, and Kokomo is rural. Word of mouth travels faster than a lot of other things.
Well, thanks to the internet, no matter where you are, word of mouth can travel really fast too.
The problem is the internet to a point can be negative on that.
Sure.
Because, we've had, and I'm not saying that every one of our bad reviews is false, because I told you we've made mistakes and we correct them, but there's been a few that, like we had one bad review and we looked back and the customer, that vehicle had never been in our dealership, found out they didn't know which dealership they were writing about. Yeah. And we couldn't get it taken down.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's just.
We work with a few clients that are franchises as well. So we work with a lot of like the locations.
Oh, yeah.
And like one of them specifically is like Ashley Home Store. And I remember one of our clients located somewhere was getting a negative review, like really bad yelling type of review. So we contact the client and they're like, we have no idea who this person is. This situation never happened. So we dug in deeper. Turns out that Ashley Home Store that person had a bad experience at was in like California. We have no clients in California, and like people just made that error.
We
like,
found
oh man, there's a lot of us. There's a lot of these stores, and they didn't realize it.
We found one that the guy had published reviews from Michigan to Florida, like hundreds.
Jeez. All 4 dealerships?
No, just I mean everything. We didn't even notice that. We'd never even shown the books that he was here.
Yeah,
and then. Ford, we're having Dad and I are in Chicago Thursday and Friday, and Ford, one of their social awareness is going to be one of the big topics in a breakout session. And supposedly there's some companies that people are paying to leave bad reviews on competitors' websites.
I believe that.
What a business.
Scumbags.
But I believe it.
Could you imagine waking up every day and saying, hey, I'm going to go to my job. I own this business.
I'm going to
this
lie.
is what we need to people.
Yeah.
Like, come on. But,
Well, I mean, it's like the people that call and it's a spam phone call.
Yeah.
It's annoying, absolutely. But every now and then I find myself like empathetic towards this person. I'm like, God, this is your life.
Yeah.
You go to some massive office, put a headset on, and like, this is your life.
Congratulations.
Jeez.
That is not the Chick-fil-A way.
No, it's not. If it's Chick-fil-A, they'll just call random people. You need anything? Can we get you anything? What do you need?
Right.
A sandwich? I got you a sandwich.
My pleasure.
And
Yes.
you know, I've grown, and we're going to continue hopefully to grow, and that's what we talk about every time we get together is with our management team. But we've got to keep it slow enough. Like everybody wants to grow overnight,
Sure.
And I'm one of them. I want the books to look like but the slower we grow, I feel like the better handle we have on it, and we've done a pretty good job to this point. And if nobody's been out, if you listen to the podcast, come see us. We'd love to show you around the new place. We are proud of it. We're excited to share it with community and be in Kokomo. So that part's been really exciting to kind of get over. We've met a lot of new people.
I'm sure, yeah.
But that part's been really fun.
Nice.
That's awesome. So, Baxter, as we wrap up here, we ask every guest on our podcast the same question. So I'd love to hear from you. What is one small thing that has contributed to your success? And this could be anything. A habit you do every day, a decision you made in your life, a snack that keeps you going. It could be big or small. What's one thing that's contributed to your success?
This is going to be a little difficult.
Because there's just so many.
They're just full of them. Honestly, probably lately, my son, Kaylin, and I, my wife had a little son. His name's Camden. He's a year and a month old, or approaching a year and a month. And that shifted my aspect of, when I used to come to work, I was doing it for myself every day, So like I want to make myself happy with what I did at work today. And now it's like, hey, I want to get better so then he can have an opportunity one day, whether it's in the car business or something else.
Sure.
But I want to succeed every day so he can have opportunities that my father was able to give me. And so that's kind of changed my look at that. I used to like, hey, I want to have a good job where I can go build a new house, buy a boat, whatever the case might be. And now it's like, I want to give my son opportunities that I was fortunate enough to have. So that part's been kind of cool. And, it's definitely been a change because, used to you'd work all day, then you go home and you'd have a break, and those breaks are gone. So.
He's super young, but what's your head at with the thought of like him doing what you've done?
Third generation.
Be awesome.
That's that you'd like that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would. Just from the aspect of loving working with my dad. But, my dad never pushed me to come back. Not even once, really.
Yeah.
Gave me the opportunity to, but I had some other opportunities at Purdue that I almost jumped on. And I think it led me, I didn't, but I never felt pressured to, and I definitely don't want to be like that for my son.
Sure.
See, I had, like I was telling you, interesting or similar situation with my dad and my grandpa that worked together. It sounds like they did not get as long as, get
along as well.
It sounds like they didn't get along as well as you and your dad do. Because my dad's answer to that, always growing up, was really interesting. Every time it ever got brought up, he was like, no, you'll do better things. Like that was always his answer. And later on in life, I've learned it's because he didn't want our relationship to turn into what his dad's relationship was.
And I have other people, not name names, but like other people I know that had that relationship, and they still aren't.
Sure.
They still aren't back to what their father and them and their dad could have been. And I've been blessed that we don't see eye to eye every day, but we do work well together, and typically it hasn't affected our home life at all.
Good.
And
you are extremely blessed, my friend.
I am, and I know I can actually sit back. I've got 3 brothers, so that's been a little different too.
Yeah.
Why I came back and some didn't, or how their lives took them different directions. But Dad made this huge investment to build this building in Kokomo, where he didn't really have to. He could have retired. Him and Mom could have done whatever they needed to, sold the business and been done. But he, at 68 years old, is taking on this huge, investment for me. It's not for him because he won't ever see it, flourish.
It's called legacy, my friend.
Yeah. So, and I'm I can realize that and see that. And
I appreciate it.
yeah, exactly. So I've been blessed to work with him, but I think the reason we get along, he never pushed me to work for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
There's never any outside pressure to come back. So I kind of made that decision on my own. And I'm glad I interned the second year with him, because if I would have left after the first year, I would have never probably come back. So
yeah, it's interesting. We always joke, Ellie, my 5-year-old daughter, we always joke, like, I'm just going to come to work one day and she'll be at my desk typing something. Like, she's just taken over and I just won't argue with it. I'll just walk away.
Well,
It's all yours, honey.
right. But growing up, I want to work at the dealership. I had this, out.
Sure.
Then you go to
You
college.
did or didn't?
I did. But then you go to college and get all these opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But the one cool thing about my job, and my wife and I have these conversations, if I need to run, like Camden had his 1 year appointment yesterday. I went left from 140 to 240.
Mm-hmm.
I can do those things. I can still have, and Camden, Kate and Cam stop in all the time, and so like it is a family atmosphere.
Yeah.
So I'm able to run and do this, and when he's playing sports, I can do that. And different things. So
We've got similar vibe here.
yeah, flexibility is really
We've got
nice.
a lot of flexibility. I mean, yeah, I do for like the owner aspect. That's definitely one of the perks of being an owner. But even like our staff, like we have a lot of kids here every now and then.
Yeah.
Like I think last Friday we had 3 or 4 kids here.
Yeah.
We did.
At the end of the day.
At the
or
very end
whatever.
of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want that too, because I remember I had that. Yeah, that gets to like the romantic side of it. But like I have such great memories of like going visiting my dad at the
Sure.
shop.
Oh, that's me too.
Yeah, like I can smell the place still. Like those type of like good memories, and I want my kids to have that as well. Like we drive by, and Ellie's always like, "Daddy, there's your office."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
See,
"This is the great part of this."
when we moved from Greentown, it sounds weird to be emotional about a building, but I was raised there.
gosh,
I mean,
yeah.
I was literally
Yeah.
raised in that building. I'd leave school and come over, hang out, or weekends we'd go up and drive cars around the building.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so that was. I don't think. And my mom told me, and Dad might not want me to share this. He probably won't listen anyway. But for like 2 or 3 weeks, he couldn't drive by the old building.
Yeah,
Like he went around.
I get it.
So it's just it's weird to be emotional about a building, but it
No,
means
it's
more
There's
than
memories.
so much
Yeah.
more than
There's
the building.
memories
Yeah, I mean,
connected.
it's my brother actually he's starting a church,
Yeah.
and like they have a little baby. Jack's like 6 months old, and like so I've had like some moments thinking like, oh, that's gonna be Joel and Jack
Be
too.
awesome. Yeah.
Like wherever they go, that building's gonna be the same.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a thing. The whole legacy is a big deal to me.
It is.
And like I try to keep that in mind, and a lot of legacy conversation melts into the whole like regrets conversation, and I'm really big on those two things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because my dad and grandpa left such a cool one, full of insane amount of memories for me. That's definitely something at the top of my list I want to do as well.
same. I mean, and so that's why.
Maybe Ellie likes it because she just gets an Oreo every time she comes. Like that's
But
one
hey,
of her
whatever
first
it takes.
requests.
Oh, I
Where's the
remember-
TV remote? I can watch Netflix, and where's my?
I remember
Oreos?
candy, growing up. So yeah, I get it. But, yeah.
Whatever it takes, right?
But it is neat.
Well, Baxter, thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on the
been
podcast
fun.
today. We were really glad to have you here.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. It's a good
Great
time.
conversation. So for you Small Success Podcast listeners, I will link all the ways you can find Baxter and Brad
Yes.
Howell Ford in the show notes below. I'll link to our compliance and commitment. I tease that a little bit, so I'll link over to that blog as well. And as always, you can find more information about us over at larrisonmedia.com. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.